Hey guys, my name is Drew.
And my name is Will, and this is the Drawn and Willing podcast.
Our goal with this podcast is to reach to the community. If we can at least, move one person, we'll feel like we have accomplished something. Even less than that, if we can just learn something ourselves through studies to help, perform more podcasts or even in our, own personal lives, we'll feel like this was an accomplishment. If you guys want to leave any comments or anything below, please feel free to throughout any point of the video. Just because we love to have some topics to talk about outside of the ones that we can create on our own, and we would love to see where this thing goes.
Absolutely. So, the first question that we're going to be tackling is, why are we a Christian? And I think that would be appropriate so just anybody watching can get to know us a little bit better. And this was a question that one of the elders at this church that I work for asked me. He asked me, Will, why are you a Christian? So many people that are our age walk away from the faith, whether that's in college or whether they graduate college. Just when they're a young adult, there seems to be a lot of people walking away from Christianity. So we're going to be talking about why we stayed a Christian and why we see that as the best option. So today we're going to be talking about why a lot of people are walking away from Christianity, and we want to share why we didn't.
I think the best place to start is definitely our childhoods.
Yeah.
So I'll go first. I grew up in a predominantly Christian household. My mother and her parents all Christians. My father, his mother was a Christian. His father it teetered. Long story short, I grew up in just about a full Christian household. My family was the type of family that we attended every Sunday morning, every Sunday evening, and every Wednesday night. Sometimes it was my mom dragging us out of bed. Yeah. It was, everything that you can think of. Yeah. I have 3 younger brothers too, so it's always a struggle getting to church some mornings, but nonetheless, we were always there and always listening to God's word, and that's how I grew up in the church.
Yeah, so for me too, we would have what you call a boring testimony. Our parents did a good job. They raised us right. Like Drew, I was at church all the time. Anytime the doors were open, we were there. And I really am just blessed to have all my parents and grandparents. They're all faithful Christians, and I just really appreciate their impact on me. So I guess we can also talk a little bit about our early view of Christianity. How did we view Christianity when we were younger?
Yeah, for me, honestly, it was all I knew. Like, when I was younger, I really thought that everybody grew up going to church and everybody thought the same thing that I did. You hear, when we're younger, we get taught the stories of, like, Jonah and the whale, Noah's Ark, Daniel and the lion's den, all these like really cool stories that kind of paint images in our heads for kids. Just really thought that everyone was taught these, and it wasn't until middle school, later elementary, that really was opened my eyes to that. People start growing into their culture, start growing into their environment that they were raised in, and that's where we start seeing differences. And just really thought everything was all sunshine and rainbows when I was younger, but I wish it was, but it's just the reality of our world.
Yeah, I'd say for me, some of my early views of like Christianity were definitely, I just felt like I misunderstood like what grace was. I just saw God as this big angry guy in the sky that was chastising me for every move that I made, and I just felt like I had to be perfect and that he wouldn't love me unless I did everything perfect. But as we'll talk about later, that's not how God views us. It's not. But nevertheless, that is how I viewed the church when I was younger. But of course, we grow up and our lives change. So Drew, when did your faith become something that you own, something that was personal to you?
Thinking about that, you think of most kids that are growing up are usually tested sometimes in high school, but more so whenever they go off to college or start in the workplace. That being because that's the first time that they're kind of like pushed out in the wild, so to say. That was same case for me whenever I started attending. Luckily, Freed-Hardeman University, shout out Freed. Me and Will both were attended and were roommates at one point. We saw that college was really the first time that you were away from the standards of your home, how you were raised, and that's really a testimony to how how are you going to live your life?
Yeah.
Are you going to adopt what your parents taught you? Are you going to hopefully grow your own faith, or are you going to fall away? And that's where a lot of people teeter. And I feel like that's why, going back to the point of this episode, this topic of why Christians walk away from their faith.
Yeah. So yeah, it's the same thing for me. I felt like when I was in college, I had a really hard season where there's a lot of just family stuff going on, a lot of relationship issues going on, and I was left in that moment with a choice whether I was going to use the world to fulfill me, or was I going to have to turn to God and just go all in with Him. And of course, naturally, there was some back and forth, just like all of us. We all struggle with sin. And I'm no different than that. Like I struggle every day. And in that moment, I'm going to say I handled it perfect, but it was definitely a time where I felt really close to God. And on top of that, like you said, when I was in college, we had to wake ourselves up on Sunday mornings to go to church. Yeah. Our parents weren't.
It wasn't anyone shaking me.
Yeah,
up
exactly.
Like, yo, it's time to get up, bro.
Exactly.
And I was like, 1 more minute, 5 more minutes, and I'd fall back asleep.
Yeah.
It wasn't any of that. It was setting your own alarm.
Exactly.
Getting up whenever you were probably up way too late on the Saturday night.
We're up till
with the boys
2, 3,
or whatever. Yeah.
Normally on the weekends, like just doing stuff, and then you have to wake up at 8 the next morning to make church by 9. Yeah. Hair still wet from taking a shower and just rolling in as soon as the service starts. But that's what, like, you have to do that when you're in college, because you don't have anybody there telling you what to do. So those things when you're going there, are you going to go to church on Sunday night? Are you going to go to church on Wednesday night? Are you going to have a relationship with God outside of what your parents taught you? Those are the kind of things that we faced when we were in college, and that everybody that age faces. So when that faith became personal, was there any doubts or questions or struggles that you ever had when you were growing up?
Oh yeah, even today.
Yeah.
Whenever I attended Horizons was this Bible camp it's a Bible camp that Freed Hardman throws just about every single summer for those, middle school, maybe even some elementary and early high school aged students. Can come and experience like a week of Bible camp on the campus and stuff. It's really cool. Honestly, recommend it if you have any young ones or have any family members or friends that have young ones. Definitely a place where I grew spiritually, and I know a lot of other people that benefited from it. Moving past that, we had this class one of the years where I can't remember the professor's name. He was a super well-profound guy that everyone looked up to on the campus. Mm-hmm. He was one of the Bible professors. He gave a class about doubt, and something he said that really stuck with me was that without doubt, we have a shallow faith, and that doubt honestly helps us build our faith. And that's something that I feel like most people will learn, is that without doubt, like, our faith is shallow. It's constantly diving into having questions, and then getting them answered through your own studies, your faith, whatever it may be, and then possibly coming across more questions. It's just a never-ending cycle of growing your faith.
Yeah. So for me, I look back to like my first year of ministry, but even before that, I had a class, and when I was getting my degree in Bible with Matthew's, how do you say his last name? Matt. It starts with an S.
Soko?
Yeah, Soko.
Sokolowski is his last name. Yeah,
it's difficult. Yeah, my mind just went blank. He was an awesome teacher, but it really opened me up to like all these questions that I never really thought about. You grow up going to church. It's just something that's a part of your life, and you don't really ask these questions. But everybody, at some point in their life, in their walk with Christ, are going to ask these questions. And thankfully, we did that in a classroom where we could work through those hard questions together, where we talked about the existence of God, if Jesus existed, can we trust the Bible? All those big questions we talked about in that class. But then in my first year of ministry, I really had to dive in and think about all these things and deal with all these existential questions, like why do bad things happen? Why does God seem so distant? And things like that. In my first year of ministry, of all places, is when I really had a lot of doubts and questions and struggle. But thankfully, God was there with me every step of the way. And it made my faith even stronger, like you said. Yeah. But through all of that, through all these doubts, and when our faith became personal, how did we end up just being Christians. There's a lot of other options out in the world.
Yeah, you have Buddhism, Hinduism. I mean, you have so many different religions. I mean, there's even a whole bunch of different branches of Christianity.
Yeah.
You know, you have Baptists and Methodists, all sorts of different deteriorations of what Christianity used to be. How can't say I really know a lot or can speak on a lot of different other people's other religions that are out there. But the reason I chose Jesus, it wasn't just because that's how I was raised.
Mm-hmm.
It was more so because I found peace in knowing that I have a God who loves me and a God who can provide for all.
Yeah. So very similar to me. I actually have the book right here. The Case for Christ had such a big impact on me, and I'm sure a lot of the people that are watching have read that book, heard about the book, watched the movie. But anyway, that book had a very big impact on me when I was asking all those big questions. And then in my mind, when I was logically thinking through all of these big questions, if God existed and all these different things, it came back to Jesus. Did Jesus exist, and did he come back to life? If those answers are yes, everything else becomes surprisingly simple. So that book really, really helped my faith. But even more than just the intellectual journey that I've been on in my faith, Jesus has just always been there. When I talked about how sometimes when we try to turn to the world to find fulfillment, and just whatever that looks like for you or for me, none of that will work. I mean, you see so many examples of that in the Bible where people try to turn to the world to find fulfillment, and it never works. But Jesus has been the only thing that's ever fulfilled me. So why I chose Jesus, why am I a Christian, is because he is the one that is my everything.
And honestly, if you're watching, I want you to think back to a time where you really wanted something. You prayed on it, maybe prayed on it earnestly. You're like, God, please, let this be. If this, when I was younger, I used to pray for things, please let this happen, please let this happen. And you know what? It never ended up happening. But looking back, I'm so thankful that those things didn't happen. Not even anything in particular anyways, but just, several small things.
Yeah.
But now when I pray, it's like, God, I pray that your will be done, whatever happens.
Yes.
Please just guide me and keep me close to you. So for me,
just seeing how faithful he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So along with that, one thing that I really learned a lot when I was growing up, or what I thought a lot growing up, was that this, like I said earlier,
grace.
Yeah, what is grace? I felt like when I was growing up, that God was looking down at me and just was so disappointed in me because I would constantly mess up, and it felt like I had to earn a good standing with God.
Right. Almost like how many good things do I need to do in order to get to where I need to go? And obviously that place is heaven, and good things are, deeds, maybe mindset, giving, things like that. However, before the show, we kind of boiled it down to one thing, and that is us being saved for good works, not by good works.
Yeah.
And is that something you want to elaborate on?
Yeah, so Mark, our preacher here, he talked about this one time. I hope I don't butcher his analogy, but it was really good. So he talked about how oftentimes we view God or what Jesus did for us on the cross as something that substitutes what we can't do. So imagine that you have a water bucket, okay? In the water bucket, we have all the good things that we've ever done. Every good thing we've done is a drop in the water, right? Right? And then we just imagine that Jesus comes in at the end and fills up the rest of our bucket, and he's just
tops us off.
Yeah, he's just there to do the little bit extra that we need. But bro, that couldn't be farther from the truth. Drew, do you have a bucket? We don't have buckets.
There might even be a bucket.
We might not even have a bucket of water.
It's empty. If I got sand in it.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's completely dry. Even the Bible talks about how even our good works are filthy rags before God, because there's nothing we could ever do to earn a relationship with him. And I also think about how prideful it is for us to think that God's grace isn't something that can reach us, that Jesus' sacrifice on the cross wasn't good enough to cover all the things that we messed up for. So thinking about grace versus earning was a big turning point in my faith, realizing that Jesus died because I would never be able to do it by myself. It's super simple to think about now, but it takes a lot of weight off of our shoulder. And honestly, it makes it easier to live for him now. Not that feel like God is just trying to smite me for everything that I do.
Right, yeah. Like you get a lot more reassurance in
exactly.
knowing that he's going to provide the way
Yeah.
anyway. Honestly, adding to that, I feel like a lot of times it's not even anything personal when we feel like, oh, I need to do this. Like, it's nothing like out of selfish ambition. It's usually just like honestly like being unaware of how God's grace really works.
Yeah.
Speaking for myself, I've always thought I need to be better. Like I need to do this. I need to go on a mission trip and help people out because I want to show that I love God and that I'm a worker for God and I'm going to spread God's love. And while that is something that we need to do, it's more so a heart thing. And that should be something that we should realize that we can do because of him, not something that we do for him.
Yeah, as if he needs us to do
anything. It's just we're just here to be little beacons, He's the light and we're just pointing it into the direction.
Exactly. So how is Jesus shaping your life now at this very moment in your day-to-day life? How is Jesus shaping your life now?
Honestly, just shaping it, things that I've done to be trying to shape myself towards being more Christ-like is definitely going to be praying more. And I'm just not talking about praying before you eat and praying before you go to bed. I'm praying just about anything, about whether it's something simple in the day, whether it's before a workout. I know that you like to do that too. And then also just reading his word and being about, our Father's business. Yeah. I feel like that's things that I'm doing to shape my life, and how it has shaped my life is I've almost realized that, you hear the saying of you have a void and the only way to fill it is with God, but really knowing that there's never a void there to begin with. Yeah. And that through God we can find actual joy and not just temporary happiness and whatever it may be, worldly relationships, physical items, whatever it may be. But not to go off on a tangent.
So for me, I simply would say that Jesus is just my everything. I mean, it's as simple as that. Man, I just want him to shape every aspect of my life, and every interaction that I make, every thought that I make, everything that I do. I want Jesus there. When the Bible tells us to pray without ceasing, I think that's what our lives are supposed to be, is that we're constantly in step with Jesus, or even constantly, like Paul talks about in Galatians, he talks about be in step with the Spirit, with the fruits of the Spirit, keep in step with the Spirit every day. Just every single moment that I'm awake, that to the point where as soon as I wake up, the first thing I think about is Jesus, not the world, not what I've got going on that day, not the stresses of life. It's him. Before I lay my head down, I thank him for the day that he has given me. Just so every single moment of my life is Jesus. But even with that, with Jesus trying to be everything in my life, we still have doubt. That's a natural part of our lives, is that we still deal with doubt. So how personally do you think you deal with doubt?
Honestly, it can be, whenever I have doubt, it could be several things. It could be opening up his word and just reading what he has to say. It could be reaching out to a friend or, an old professor, anything. Just someone who may have a little bit more knowledge than I do. And also pray. I like to pray anytime I feel like, hey, God, can you please reveal this to me? It's already been revealed, but can you please point me in a direction where I can find it? Is more so what I should say. Yeah. But the best way I feel like we can deal with doubt is pursuing the doubt and pursuing an answer. A lot of times I feel like we can just kind of push to the side and be like, oh, God has an answer to it, But I feel like if we find that answer, even if it's not a clear-cut answer, at least we're growing our faith. And whenever our fellow brothers who are more than likely going to be faced with the same question come across it, we're going to have something to say, at least something to contribute to the conversation. Yeah. And I think Will and a whole bunch of my other friends for, increasing in their faith and their knowledge, because it's helped me answer questions that I've come across. And it's just a relief to know that you surround yourself with too. So I guess really the focus all in is surrounding yourself and pursuing an answer.
Yeah. So first I want to just say, when we're dealing with doubt, I want to say that it's okay.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It's like 100%
I was
okay
gonna
to
say.
doubt. Like we've said already, the way that I have gotten to know my faith more and my relationship with God more is because I had doubts and I was confused and I didn't have the answer. So it drove me to a place where I was reading books constantly, praying a lot, and just trying to get an answer with God's help, of course. So it's okay to doubt. It's sometimes the doubting is the best thing that can happen to your faith. But we just have to let that doubt drive us closer to God.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about people from the Bible like Job, where he was going through some terrible things, and he even questioned like, God, why are you doing
the
this?
gauntlet, man.
Yeah,
He was just putting them through
exactly
anything that you could think.
Yeah, and then he's asked God, why are you doing all of this? And then we go to Peter, and Peter's walking on the water and then starts to sink because of what? He's doubting.
Yeah.
And then we get to Thomas, and he doubts. He's like, I won't believe that Jesus come back to life until I can touch the nail-marked hands. And all these different things we see that people in the Bible doubted. But on the other end of that, it brought them closer to God, especially Peter, man. Like, I love the story of Peter.
Like we always give Peter a little bit too much, hatred, or not hatred, but more so we just kind of, doubtful Peter. Like, but I'm like, man, like he was the only one that got out of that boat,
right,
during that stormy weather and tried to walk to Jesus, and he got a few steps in.
He did. Yeah, he did.
And then we were talking about this before, but
yeah.
Not that there's a clear answer on this, but Jesus, when he was being being flogged and beaten, and when Peter was denying him, where were the other disciples? Right. Like, because we know that they saw each other. They're at least in that close of proximity.
Right. So Jesus and Peter are like they see each other, like to the point where he denies them the last time. Here's the rooster. Jesus and Peter, they lock eyes.
Yeah.
And then Peter just goes away because of how sorrowful he is. So yeah, we see these guys, they doubted, but when you open up the book of Acts, it's like a whole different guy. Peter's preaching this fire sermon, and like getting all these people to turn to Christ.
Thousands
if you would exactly
they said 5,000 men. That's not including.
Yeah. So you have Peter. If you would have just skipped after Jesus' resurrection, you skip to the book of Acts, you see Peter doubting, and then you see him preaching the sermon, you'd be so confused. But that's exactly what God does with our doubt. He can use it to make us stronger.
So say the same about Job too.
Exactly. Yeah.
He was blessed with double of what he started with.
Yeah.
And I mean, even he questioned God, but he never turned away from God, and I think that's important. Don't let our doubt turn us away from God. It should only pursue us to grow closer to Him.
Yeah. So Drew, as we wrap this episode up, I just want one sentence. Why are you a Christian?
Well, before, I like the preference saying, like, I'd like to say I'm a follower of Christ before I'm a Christian. I feel like Christians nowadays is just kind of a term that we just throw around. We say, oh, Christian, I want to be a follower of Christ.
Yeah.
If that is being a Christian, being a follower of Christ, then kudos. I love that. But honestly, peace in worldly chaos. That's why I would say I'm a follower of Christ, because I want to have the peace.
Yeah.
Well, even though this world is full of chaos and sin. But
absolutely.
What about you? Why are you a Christian?
It's very simple, but I think it encompasses everything that I would want to say to that question, is that Jesus sustains me always.
Oh, I like that. Jesus sustains me always.
Always. Every second of every day. So, as we wrap it up, you have anything that you want to say?
I mean, not particularly on this, no.
Okay.
Honestly, yeah, I really hope that this, goes somewhere. I know this is probably a shorter episode than what we're going to be doing in the future. We just wanted to put ourselves out there, start on a little topic, and hopefully get some sort of response and feedback from anyone who's watching. If not, say okay. Don't be shy in the comment section. But
please comment for the algorithm. Just kidding.
But we just hope, like we said at the beginning, at least if we could reach one person, even if they don't learn anything, but they like just enjoy watching two, rookie amateur guys just kind of give it their all. We would really appreciate that. Yeah. And then if you want to kind of give some little teasers to what's to come with future episodes, or do you have anything else to add yourself before that? Actually,
if you are watching this, I appreciate it. Like Drew said, we just would love any feedback. And we just thank you for watching and taking your time to listen to us talk. So some of the couple episodes I think that would flow really good from our first conversation today. Next week we're going to be talking about doubt and just everything that goes along with that. And then it sounds a little bit controversial, but I hope you will still listen to it. What do Christians get wrong about Jesus? It sounds a little spicy, but I think it'd be good.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be really good. So this is just the beginning of the conversation, and I hope and pray that God can use this, like Drew said, to just change one life. That's all I could want. But anyway, we thank you so much for watching today's video. We love you. God bless.